Now, let me talk about the future contracts. Now, these future contracts are, as we have already talked about, they are just like the forward contracts and contracts, except that they are standardized contracts, and they have the particular margin requirement. In itself, when they have the margin requirement, so they are mark to market, mark to market, exchange traded, and they do not have the counterparty risk. Now, these are some of the features of these future contracts that make it different from the forwards. Now, one of the important things that we need to now consider is the pricing and the valuation of the valuation of the future contracts. Now, before we talk about the pricing and valuation of the future contracts, let me talk about the value of the future contracts. Now, the value of the future contract is as in as since these future contracts are market to market, their value becomes zero, because every time the contract is mark to market, it is settled, and ultimately the value of this contract turns out to be zero. Now, let me now talk about some of the mechanics in the future market. The first thing that I want to talk about is the price limits. Now, the future contracts themselves come with the circuit breakers. Now, what are these circuit breakers? Uh, we have uh, set two limits, uh, the upper limit and the lower limit, within which the prices can move. And The prices of the future contract can move within these limits. The one is the upper limit, and the another one is the lower limit. Now, uh, whenever if the price at which the transaction would be made exceeds the limit, it is called as limit move. So we have a concept called as limit move, which means that if the price at which transaction would be made exceeds the limit, so now the limit that has been put for a transaction, if it exceeds that limit, then we say that it is we call it as a limit move. If the price is stuck at this upper limit, it is known as limit up, and if the price is stuck at this lower limit, it is known as limit down. And because if there is a if the transaction cannot take place because the price is not within the limits, it's known as locked limit. Now, which is it is called as when a transaction cannot occur because the price is out of the limit. So in this case, the circuit breaks, and then the trading is halted, and it such a limit is known as locked limit.